folks, Travis Fox here with FoxOptic.com. Today we're going to be doing a quick start video on the ATN X-Sight 2. You'll find a lot of this information useful for the Thor HD models as well. I've got a television screen hooked up over here and a camera, so I'll be able to video record that via the HDMI port, output port on the scope. Again, this is just going to be a quick start video. We're not going to take a real in-depth look at any one particular feature. We're just going to try to get you started and show you how you can use your scope. First, we're going to take a look at the scope itself, getting it on a gun, and let's take a walk around that, and I'll show you how to get started. Hang around. Alright, I moved to a handheld camera. We're going to just take a real quick glance around the scope. I'll go over this real fast version of the mechanical side of the scope. Obviously on this particular gun I've got it on a Picatinny rail. I've got it adjusted back where I need it for the eye relief. You tighten that down on the rail using the two screws. Obviously it's locked into the lug. If you need to put your IR light on, this is a good location, although if you have a forward location on another pick rail, ideally I prefer it there, but this is a good option. In the rear of the scope here, we've got the diopter control. That's one of the first things that you're going to set up. When you power the scope on, you'll use that diopter control to set the display screen clarity individually for your eye. If you have glasses and you find yourself in a situation where you got to drop those down, you can micro adjust that for changing situations. Up here we've got the control panel. Obviously you've got the center is the select in most instances, up, down, left, right, arrow keys to scroll through your menus and to get to different functions inside of those. Power button here when you're powering the scope on and off. With our battery included external battery pack, there's a little button on the pack itself right in that location. Sometimes you have to hit that button first to get it to acknowledge power, so typically I just reach down on the pack, give that a squeeze, then come back up, hold the power button down for about a second. When you go to shut the device off, you'll need to hold that down for about a second or so. You'll get an in-screen prompt asking if you really want to shut the device off. You'll scroll over to that. If you do want to shut it off, obviously, and then hit the center select button to choose that. Let's go over to this side of the scope. We have the port cover here where you would install the internal batteries. Again, we recommend the Kentley internal rechargeable battery as the best power option for the scope because of their output voltage. On this particular case, I'm hooked up to use the HDMI output in place of the internal screen, and then I've got my micro USB coming off of my battery. Otherwise, if I was in a hunting situation, obviously I wouldn't be using this. I would have the cap cover on there that's included with our external kit. Down in the center of there, you'll see where your micro USB goes. Pretty self-explanatory. Push in, click, push it again to release. On the front of the scope, you're going to find the focus adjustment. So as your yard or distance to the target varies, you'll adjust this for clarity. That focus wheel you will have to change for clarity as targets vary, whereas the rear diopter control, typically you'll only adjust that once and set it for your eye. Inside of your package, you would have found a sunshade. And this is one that I get questions on occasionally as to what this does. This is an f-stop enhancer. I'll show you in the video the situation where you would use that. Potentially what that allows you to do in really brightly lit conditions by restricting the light coming into the scope. It allows the scope to focus more narrowly on the subject. It can help give you a clearer image and also potentially help in whitewash situations if you have really too bright of a light. So anyways, we're going to switch over to the television screen, go through some of the inside prompts in the menu. I'll be right back with you. Okay, here we are inside the scope. First thing I want to show you is that f-stop or focus stop enhancer that I was talking about. You can see where we don't have real great clarity back here. We got some wash effect on that target. That's about 125 yards back here, so you can see where if I install that, It helps clear that up quite a little bit. Potentially you're going to want to use that thing in the daytime. It does seem to help quite a bit. So now that I've showed you that, let's hit the center button. Let's start into the menu. The first option is going to be the night mode. Center button to select day or night. The scope won't have any damage if you run that in night mode during the daytime. Doesn't work like the intensified tube night vision. Center button again, there I took it back off. The next option is going to be the rangefinder. I'll show you real quick how that rangefinder works. I'm not going to go into big detail, but you essentially put it on the top of the target. We know that's about a 4-foot target. Hit it again, so you can see where it's giving me a pretty accurate reading back there. Left arrow key to get out of that. Center button again. If you knew the distance to the target, I could have went in here and just quick entered that back there. We'll go back. Go back to the next function. The next function you're going to see is your environment settings. Those are for the ballistic calculator. The top three, relative humidity, wind speed, wind direction, you would have to input manually at this time. Temperature, barometric pressure, and altitude are set by the scopes, the sensors in the scopes. Not going to touch real in depth on that. I'll do a video specific to that calculator. Here you're going to see how to turn your functions inside the scope on and off. You can scroll through those. Any one of them that you want to turn off, like say or on or off, like if we want to turn the ballistic calculator on, we highlight that, hit that button. You see in the top right now we've got a little icon indicating that it's turned on and the hash mark went away. Hit it again to shut it off. It's GPS, Wi-Fi, recoil activated, or RAV video. That's how you turn those features on. Here's where we're going to spend most of our time, is in the system settings. I'm going to breeze through these pretty quick. You got night vision. Under the night vision setting, you can set your color theme, white, black, or green, white. Your light sensitivity, typically you're going to run that at medium. You have a low or a high setting in there. Your photo and video options, again, I'm just going to kind of give you an overview of where they are at, but we're not going to touch on them. You can switch that from burst to single shot mode. You got a time-lapse setting in there. You can turn the microphone on or off for video. Your video quality you can set, I believe it's at 1080p at 30 frames or 720 at 60. I typically leave mine at the 1080 at 30. If you were trying to take some really fast action stuff, you might want to change that, but I don't really recommend that. You format an SD card, the USB access, and then you can set up the RAV here. Like I've got mine set to record before the shot or buffer back 30 seconds before the shot and record to infinity. Just highlight either one of those options and you can change. I think on the before shot 30 seconds is all you can do, and on the after shot you can go, I think it's 10 to 30 seconds or to infinity. So under the next one we have the display. We can set your screen brightness. In day mode, I typically keep mine relatively high. In night mode, I usually run that down to a setting of 1. The options are 1 through 5. So like I've currently got it set at the 5. If I wanted to turn it down, that's the display out inside the eyepiece only that will affect. The next option allows you to turn your display widgets on or off, which are essentially those icons that you'll see out on the main screen. If you don't want those to be in your way, you can set that to minimal instead of extended. Right there. But we're going to leave ours at extended because I want to be able to show those to you. You can change language readouts inside the scope there. There are multiple language readouts. This will allow you to change your reticle style. You have 2 options, shape or color. So again, under display, reticle style, if you want to change the shape, for example, if I wanted to go to a duplex or this ballistic ranging style reticle, I could select it. If I wanted to change to a new color, I was at yellow, there's red. So now when I come back out to my main screen, You can see where I changed that to the ballistic style in red. Again, I'm going to hit the center button to get back in there. I'm going to left arrow key over to system settings. Pretty self-explanatory using the left right keys and the center button to select things. So that was under display. Profiles and 0 is where you're going to find, under current and 0 reticle, you're going to find your option of setting up the 0 on the scope. Ours is already set. I'm at X25, Y225. Don't really need to mess with that. I've got a video on how to use the one-shot 0 function, so if you don't know or have questions on that, be sure to watch that video. We'll save and exit that because it's already set up. Below that, you're going to find where you can set your ballistics data if you're using the ballistics calculator. That information, most of the top information you're going to get off the bullets that you're using. Your 0 range obviously will be where your initial 0 point was set up at. Sight height is center of the bore to the center of the scope. Again, I'll go over that in a ballistics calculation video. So we're going to arrow back over here to settings. Real quick, you can change your units from standard to metric. You can set the date time inside the scope. You can see the options in there. About the only thing, I think that's all pretty self-explanatory. Time zone, central time zone is Greenwich mean time -5 hours, so Eastern would be -4, Mountain would be -6, and Pacific would be -7. You got Wi-Fi settings here. If you need to get your password information or your MAC address for the Wi-Fi, you'll find that there. Geotagging, I typically keep that turned off. If you need to turn that on, you'll find that there. Your device type, if you bought your device from us, it will already be set up. If not, you'll want to set that to the device that you're using. In the case of this, I'm using the X-Sight 2.5 to 20. It's been set. Zoom, you can switch from standard to extended. The extended allow you to increase in digital magnification to a factor of 10, but I haven't really found any instances where that's a necessity. Underneath that, we're going to find restore factory settings in case you would ever have a glitch in your scope. One thing to mention there, if you ever have a glitch in your scope, or in the event that you would ever have one, make sure you're writing down those XY coordinates from your 0 once you've performed a 0. And then lastly, and if you need to see where you would get at that, again, profiles and 0, current, 0 reticle, they're going to read out in the top of the screen. So like I would write down X25, Y225 for, this is a Savage Model 12 HS Precision Varminter stock, so I would have that information wrote down. Again, I'm going to save and exit that. We'll get back into those menu settings. The last thing in that menu that you're going to see is the firmware version that's on your scope. Again, if you bought your scope from us, that will come already updated, but you know, if you got a version other than that, 554, 553, you may want to go to the ATN Corp website and download the latest version for the latest features. So that's just kind of a quick run through of how to navigate the scope. Again, on the outside here, we're seeing, foot to the target. That's only gonna reset the reticle if we're using the ballistic calculator. We got our tilt and our angle readouts there on the left and right of the screen. Time down in the bottom corner. Magnification setting in the top right. Compass in the center. Again, if we turn those display widgets down to minimal, all we would see is that top right magnification setting. Again, this has been Travis Fox with foxoptic.com. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call, toll free, 877-806-2977, or check us out on Facebook. We're under Fox Optic. If you have any questions or any suggestions for what we should do in the future, be sure to give us a call or drop us an email. Thanks a lot, and you have a great day.